What up, everybody? Welcome in. It is Monday, November 27th, 1:03 p.m. Central. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's going to be a super special discussion today because it's not going to be my usual self just talking at the camera and then hoping there's people on the other side. We actually have some guests today with me. I have Niklas and I have Mimi to discuss what is going on in Sweden. Mimi and Niklas are both Swedish. How about that? We're going to have some Swedish representation here for this discussion. There's a lot going on with this. If you are following the story, there is a lot of labor disputes going on in Sweden regarding Tesla. There's articles flying left and right. There's stuff happening on X. But I figured we'd bring everybody together to have a sort of long-form discussion because there's a lot of nuance, there's a lot of detail to this discussion. And I think one of the things I'm really looking forward to is understanding how Sweden works, what the unions are like in Sweden, what Tesla's relationship is like with the country, and just sort of discussing through that. So maybe I'll have Niklas, you go ahead and give us a quick brief intro, your background, sort of what you do and all that good stuff. And then I'll have Mimi give a little lay of the land and we'll turn this into a conversation. So Niklas, go ahead. The microphone is yours.
Thank you. I'm just Niklas, a regular guy who like Tesla, and I'm a long-term stockholder, and I'm a regular guy and carpenter, building construction, and self-employed. I have my own company. Just here as a small company owner who sees the collective agreement and the side of a. That's me.
Awesome, thank you. And then Mimi, go ahead and give us a quick intro. I think a lot of people are probably familiar with you, and then let us know what the heck's going on.
Yeah, I wish I could. No pressure. No, this is a very confusing subject, and it's very hard for people to understand, even in Sweden, but especially outside that don't know the tradition of the Swedish union and the labor market. Well, I'm Mimi. I have no company, and I'm not. I am a member of a union, but I don't have a work job right now, and I'm not active union member. But I'm here as, I think, a little more of a devil's advocate today, because I know that most people are very much on Tesla side, and they're very much hating on the Swedish system. So I'm going to try to be objective and maybe a bit defensive of the unions. But I just want to say that I think that the way that Tesla is treated right now is ridiculous. So keep that in mind.
Way to check yourself there. That was smart.
Yes. I think so. So I'm just going to start to describe a little bit about the collective agreement, or the collective bargaining, as many say in the English articles. But I think bargaining sounds like you're always arguing about the level of salaries. And I just made a small sketch here of the collective agreement. So this is an agreement between the company and the union. And there are 650 different agreements between different unions and different companies in Sweden. So there are many different kinds, but they kind of all cover the conditions for pay, holidays, and working hours. And also they cover a lot of insurance, like you see, illness, unemployment, parental leave, occupational injury, occupational pension, and death. If that would occur, which is terrible. And the difference today with Tesla in Sweden not having signed a collective agreement is that they have a slightly lower salary than the average mechanic in Sweden, but they are being compensated with stock options. Tesla pay a smaller amount to pensions, and they have no reduction of working hours, which is an extra bonus that unions have. And I think that for EF Metall, the union that is fighting with Tesla, I think it's about 40 hours per year that you have as an extra free time. And they have no support if you lose your job. If you work at a company with a collective agreement, you have a foundation to stand on. If you lose your job, you can get help getting a new education, to write your CV, to find a new job, etc. And there are no possibilities of a part-time pension, like if you get injured or if you get so old you can work full-time. So that's the basic difference that Tesla is not living up to today compared to the collective agreement. And I just want to say that I've been trying to find interviews with Tesla workers. It's not easy, partly because I feel that the Swedish media is pretty biased, which I have written to a lot of them and told them. And also because a lot of them, they don't want to show their names. But I found one guy, and I saw some pretty good numbers. And they estimate that a Tesla worker loses out on about $2,000 a year in money over the lifetime because of these not being compensated for these extra hours and for a smaller pension. And he said that, okay, we're getting stock options, and people who got stocks many years ago, they made a lot of money. But today you get a stock, well, that's very good. But if Elon tweets something, that stock goes down in value. So it's a risk that if you need your income, maybe not all think is such a great compensation. So that's basically it.
Awesome. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Hi, Richard. How's it going? You found the link.
I was lost. I mean, I'm always lost, but I was super lost today.
Well, I'm glad you found. I'm glad you found.
By the way, what do you call a criminal driving a Tesla?
Oh, what?
A joule thief. Joule's a measurement of energy. You know that, right? Okay.
1 out of 10, bro. What are you doing?
Whatever. That was even for you. Very bad.
I was going to tell you. I was going to ask you what's the difference between Elon and a porcupine. One's a prick on the outside.
Oh no!
Oh no! Oh no!
All right. Some people will really enjoy that. Welcome in. I miss you, buddy.
Me too. Me too. Me too.
Yeah. All right, let's head it over to Niklas. So Niklas, you sort of heard sort of Mimi giving us the lay of the land, also taking the position of a little bit, let's say, more pro-union. And again, this is just more a discussion. Let's in the comments section, we always do a phenomenal job of keeping it civil, and thank you to the mods for doing that. But let's just make sure that this is more of a learning lesson on understanding what the heck's going on. So Niklas, go ahead and let us know sort of maybe any takeaways from what Mimi said and what you're seeing from your perspective in Sweden. And to remind everybody who just joined us, Mimi and Niklas are both Swedish and they live in Sweden. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. First, many things of what you said is correct, yes, but also something is not correct because the salary for you said that Mimi that the salary was slightly less than average workers, and that is about because you can't compare slightly less workers with the average worker in Sweden, because Tesla has one. They have much younger employees. They have a very large difference between good paid employee because they have bonuses and they have expectations on them, and the lowest paid, they have less pay than average, of course, and the mid pay in Tesla, they have perhaps the same as average pay a worker in every other legacy auto company, but there's the big range between what?
Mechanics. We're talking about mechanics.
Yeah, mechanics. Yeah. Always mechanics. And the big range between high and low is bigger in Tesla than in other companies, and that is the main part. And the part that Tesla stocks is, I think, Farzad knows this better than any one of us for, but Tesla stock, what that is valued today is actually nothing important, because if you have to be in a collective agreement and pays the regular fee to Fora, the company pays to another company, and it's called Fora, and that is a percentage on all the things Mimi told. And 1%, some percentages goes to pension, and some percentages go into insurance and some things like that. But if you're employed and have a collective agreement, the pensions you're gonna get is perhaps 5, 10, 20, 25 years from now. So what the stock is worth today, if that go down or go up, it's not important, because it's in 5 or 10 or 20 years. So I think we wouldn't have this agreement, we wouldn't have this argument, or EF Metall wouldn't put this strike on if the stock have gone up perhaps 5, 10, 20, 25, 30% each year. But because some employers have some workers have perhaps underperformed, or perhaps is not happy with their works, and think that the stock options they have gone down, and suddenly they are upset. But this is not something I know. This is just my own suggestions and my own thoughts. I don't know what Farzad says, but if we have $413 for 2 years ago, and if it's in 2, 3, 4, 5 years is 1,000 or 2,000, but the time between now and then, it's not important. I don't know, but what do you think, Farzad?
Well, actually, I want to throw back to Mimi, because I saw Mimi raise her hand. So go ahead, and what did you have there?
No, I just want to say two things. But first of all, the argument they had was that they would rather want higher salary now. The few interviews I saw that had that viewpoint. Not everybody. I mean, some people are really happy with stock options, and I would too. But it is, I mean, stocks, they are a gamble. We all know that. They go up and down, and maybe you want to secure a higher payment now, and you want to be sure of that. And I don't think you say that EF Metall suddenly started this. Well, they've been negotiating with Tesla for 5 years. They've been visiting Tesla for 5 years. They've been explaining things to Tesla, to the employees for 5 years, who still doesn't want the agreement, which is very important to say. And that's the main reason that I'm against. Yeah, no, the workers, they don't want it, and most of them, from what I understand, they still work. So, and I think that's a very important factor why this is an absurd conflict. So that's important to take into consideration. But you're right, and also these are young guys working, and I agree with you that the salaries are lower, but they're also young guys who don't realize that one day that they will be 55, 60, and they will have an aching back, and they will have muscle problems, neck problems, whatever, and then they might need the support, and then maybe Tesla isn't so supportive.
I used to tell some people sometimes that Tesla is trying to make change the world, change the transition to sustainable energy, and to do that, you doesn't satisfied with average worker. You need the high end. You need the best. You need the one who is fighting. You need the ones who's prepared to do the hard work. I know personally some people who work and doesn't write down the times, the hours, the days they work, because they do it because they want, and that is very confusing. No, that's a very confusing to other people to know that some people works for free because they want, and that the other person who think it's stupid is the person who wants collective agreement, who wants security, who wants right and wrong to be right always, to be equal, to be very democracy and equal, and that sticks to his eyes always. If one work a whole weekend I know several people who worked weekends for Tesla or for some other companies too. I know people who works other companies and have worked other companies and worked several hours for free because they want to, because they feel the mission, they feel the need or urge to do this. And that is wrong to tell them that they need a collective agreement and they got lower pays and not stock options and some such a things, because it's Tesla's free will. If they have to do the collective agreement, which they doesn't gonna do, but if they are always free to tell the people, tell the workers that, okay, that's fine, no stock options for you. That is free. But it always also is free to say no to collective agreement, because in Sweden we have a free agreement choice, and there are 90% in Sweden of companies who have collective agreements, but that is also 10% who hasn't, and that is not strange. For companies who has fewer workers than 50, it's called small companies. That is 60% of these companies who doesn't have collective agreement.
Yeah.
Of course, in bigger companies, it's more common, but it's not a law, and it's free to tell no. But on the other hand, the unions is free to strike, to block, to do a lot of things. Yes.
Go ahead,
But
Manny.
Yes.
do they have to? Do they need to? If their only thing to try to convince or try to do is remain the best for the workers, is 10% of the workers or less, 10% of the workers, is they gonna hurt 90% of the workers who doesn't want to? Is that right? Is that democracy or not?
Maybe did you want to go? Your hand went up, and then I see Richard's off mute.
I was wondering what everybody out there has to understand is that the collective agreement is the base. We don't have any legislation covering the relationship between workers and the companies. It's all handed over to the unions and the employers' organizations. And if you don't have that, you don't have as much protection as you might have in other countries if you're standing outside the collective agreement. And would you please put out the second picture there with the graph with
the graph, not the map?
No, not the map, the graph.
The graph, yep. Here you go.
They just did a big poll in Sweden to see how many think that it's important for companies in Sweden to have a collective agreement. And very important, you can see 61%, and rather important, 22%. So not at all important, 3%. So it's an overwhelming majority. And this includes also a lot of company owners, because it has provided Sweden with an extremely stable labor market. In the other Nordic countries, except Denmark, the strike days are 15 times higher. In France, they had 132 strike days. Denmark had 124. Canada had 110, and Sweden had 5.
Is that a sign of a good union or a good Swedish model, or is it a sign of that Swedes usually don't say much things? We stand in queue, stand in line in the food grocery store, we stand in line for everything, and we're very used to not saying something because we doesn't want to upset anyone.
I don't think that's true. I mean, you don't see the unions being afraid of upsetting anyone. Just look at the strike now. My God, the unions are not afraid to speak up. It's because we have negotiations, and they negotiate a salary, and that salary is decided, and that negotiation, the deal goes on for 1, 2, maybe 3 years. And during that time that you have a deal about the salary and all the other conditions, there is something that's called peace, working peace. So you're not allowed to strike. You're not allowed to protest a deal that is set, and that is negotiated between the employers and the employees. So I'm just trying to make you understand why. I mean, most even company owners think that this has given Sweden a huge competitive advantage, because we know that this is a safe country, and then I can agree that Sweden is the only country in the world where the union can do things like they do now. These extreme measures, taking out so many other companies, other side effects that has nothing to do with Tesla, that is only happening in Sweden. And there are discussions about changing that, but the politicians in Sweden, they don't want to touch this subject. It's very, very deeply rooted in the population and in the companies and in the unions. And it's a very touchy question to take.
Yeah, let me go ahead and throw it to Richard, and then I'll let you go, Nicholas, real quick, because I know Richard wants to get in.
That's a long time for me not to say anything.
Yes,
and
I'm very impressed.
So this is my view. If I offend any of the people here, I apologize. But in the United States, we would call Sweden a welfare state. So so they provide for health care. They provide for hours, leaves, a bunch of benefits that we would never dare ask for or accept in the United States. That's starting off the starting position. Also, my understanding is the labor unions are so, in Sweden, are so intricately connected to the politics that it overwhelms the system. In the United States, the unions are separate. But in Sweden, my understanding is the Social Democratic Party is basically the political wing supporting the union. That's my understanding. Mm. So starting off from those perspectives, Sweden is irrelevant to Tesla. Sweden has a very small number of cars they're going to ever buy from Tesla. They don't produce cars in Sweden. So whereas maybe Germany, Tesla would be concerned about union activities in Germany because they have a plant there. When we talk about union activities in Sweden, do you think Tesla wants to set a precedent with a union outside the United States and then have to deal with the UAW? Absolutely not.
No.
Tesla is going to do nothing in Sweden. They will be combative. What they did today is they filed 2 lawsuits. They filed a lawsuit against the transportation agency, which is in essence the government, and they filed a second lawsuit against the mailmen for failing to deliver the mail. There was an interim decision that was announced from the district court where basically Tesla won, so they have to deliver the license plates. There's another case pending, and I don't think that's not a final decision. I presume the transportation agency has some right to appeal it, contest it, whatever, but that's the original decision. The second decision is against the postal department, and it's directing them to deliver all mail to Tesla, because I guess they assume that not all mail has been delivered to Tesla. The way the system is set up, and I have to give them, can you imagine filing a case and getting a decision on the same day?
I was shocked.
That's what I was amazingly. I was impressed.
As a lawyer, how incredibly impressed were you, for real?
I was telling you that he was wrong when he posted it. And I said, no way, they sued today. And then I saw, no, they got an interim decision in a couple of hours.
Yes, I was so amazed because, in our place, it's going to be years before we get to any kind of decision. So I have to give props to the Swedish judicial system for doing a very quick job. I think Tesla will just litigate it. They'll impose fines because that's what they're seeking in their first lawsuit, was something on the order of $100,000 fine for the activity. I don't know what they're going to seek against the postal system. Nobody likes to pay money. So that's
you can't sue for amount of money in Sweden. The decision was that if they don't deliver the plates to Tesla within 7 days, they have to pay a fine of 100,000.
No, it's
Yeah.
they have to let the Tesla go and get the plates by themselves.
Sorry,
Yeah,
but if
within
they don't
7
get access
days.
to the plates, yes.
yeah, if somehow there's
And
no
the
delivery,
manufacturer.
there's a fine.
No.
There's a
Yeah.
fine. Yeah. And usually fines are usually they do encourage people to act. Nobody likes to pay money. And I'm sure in terms of the workers, probably it's a difficult position because again, I think it's a cultural thing. In Sweden, it's part of the culture. So I understand it. In the United States, maybe the early 20th century when everybody was getting killed in mines and, at ports, then obviously labor unions at that time were much more important and much more effective. And they served a purpose of really protecting people from getting killed. I think this now, in the current time frame, I know the union said it was wages, working conditions, and safety, but I'm not aware of any safety issues. The working conditions, I think, are hours, the number of hours, because I understand the work week might be longer, and wages might be wages. So the issue is, in the United States, the Tesla workers are willing to accept stock options in lieu of a union pension. And sounds like in Sweden, that may not be the case.
So let me set the stage again for those that are joining us live. We have almost 1,200 people joining us live. Thank you all so much. So just a level set, this whole thing happened. This whole thing went down. It's a long story. There's a 5-year prelude to this thing. But what was it, like 2-3 weeks ago? How long has it been since this thing started?
1 month today.
1 month today. So essentially, EF Metal, right? Is that what y'all call it? We would call it IF Metal in America.
Yes. Yes.
IF Metal, but it's EF Metal in Sweden as a union, and they're correct me if I'm wrong, but they're one of the many unions in Sweden, and about 90% of the working population in Sweden is part of a union, correct? In some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
90% of the companies.
Yeah.
90% of the companies.
Yeah.
Got it. 90% of the companies are unionized. And what ended up happening was that they tried to unionize a Tesla location or multiple Tesla locations in some ways. Sorry? All seven?
All seven, yeah.
And the vote failed by upwards of 90% plus of the workers not go.
They have no vote.
They haven't voted.
No.
Okay. So what was the article that said that 90% plus of Tesla workers didn't want to unionize?
Have sent a mail and told them that over 90% are still working.
Got it.
And what that means is obviously less than 10% are striking. But
Got it.
no numbers have been given.
So would the union block their access? Because like in this country, if there was a strike, the union would physically block the access. Is that what they're doing there also?
They started 1 month ago with going on with the union. EF Metal told all the workers, and they have always have a number 130, at least the first 2 weeks, going on to strike. But some days come any information, but we heard that a handful was striking, just a handful, and then they increased the salary from 80% to 130% for all the people who went on strike, and then they got a few more. We don't know exactly, but just a few. We think 20, 25, but I don't know the number. And that was not so good. They weren't happy with it, so they went on sympathy strikes with the harbor, the ports, the transport, the electricians for serving and maintaining the superchargers, and painters and workshops and subcontractors and sub companies who fix car shops with damaged cars, which have nothing to do with Tesla. It's just an external company who is at a collective agreement and working on Teslas, but they were stopped to do anything with the Teslas. So that was hit from the customers of the Tesla were hit. So the third part were, and that the EF Metall had tell us that it's a pity you were hitting, but sorry, that's the way it has to be. So they have increased the sympathy strikes on many things, but the people who are actually in the company striking is very, very few.
Got it. Go ahead, maybe.
And they have brought in extra people to work there, which are called, I don't even remember what they're called in English. What do you call them?
Scabs.
We call them
Scabs.
Yeah. We call them strike breakers. Yes. Yeah. And which you're not supposed to do, but I can understand that they do that. I was going to say, you can just pull up that map and then we can see all the locations that are hit by the strike, not only Tesla places.
Can I ask a question? Would the workers who don't strike, would they suffer repercussions in their daily lives? And would they get pushed back?
This here is the funny, not funny. It's a sad part because they got a lot of threats from the union who told them, go out and strike or else you're never gonna get a job in a union place ever again.
Yes, and they have absolutely no power to say that, and that's what I get so upset. Please, everybody out there who just repost things that you see on X, but you're so critical, you're critical about mainstream media because there's so much FUD out there. The unions have no power. They can't decide who gets hired. Today they can't even just decide who gets fired. If you have a discussion with a union, but if you don't agree, it's the company who decides. Some people said that they wouldn't receive a-kassa, which is benefit that you get when you're unemployed, and that's not true either. That's separate from the union. So the union, they have no power to do anything except make you feel uncomfortable. Yes, but there are also people saying that Tesla are threatening people to fire them if they're sick too much, and if they complain about things that they will get fired. And I don't know which one is true and it's not true, but I think that threats should be left out no matter which side.
So
nothing to do here.
So the part that has me, the reason why I'm hosting this conversation in the first place was that as an outsider reading whatever I can and ingesting the situation, the way I perceived it is that there was a union that is trying to sign some sort of agreement with either Tesla or the employees or whatever, but there's some sort of union that is trying to be part of Tesla in some way. And
an agreement with Tesla.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with employers. They can be members of union or not members of the union.
Right, and that's a big distinction that I learned is that a company being part of a union and an employee being part of a union is two separate things, right?
Yes.
You can.
Yes.
Yeah.
And even if you're not a member of the union, you still benefit from the collective agreement. I mean, the things that are decided there, they go for people member of union or not member of union. Doesn't matter. So,
Nicholas, I see you shaking your head. Why are you shaking your head?
Different in different unions and different in different workplaces. Because if the company is unionized, and you have, we say, for instance, 50% are members and 50% are not. There are very often the union comes to visit and talks to the union members of how do you say, it's a little bit we and us, we and they, and it's a bit down. It's a little bit more, you have to join us to be a member.
Confrontation.
Yeah, a little bit like that. And also if the company as Tesla joins or another company joins a collective agreement with the union, they have some obligations to pay pensions and insurance in 7-8 different pockets, you say, and that is going to the unions, and then they pay out if the worker is left out, or if the worker is sick or something. But it also has to do with the money or the salaries and some things like that. So it's like if we go and sign the agreement, the employees has to follow this money
Got
payment.
it. Mimi, go.
I have worked in several different places, and I've been a member of a union, and I have not been a member of a union, and I've even been a ombudsman, looking after the working environment to see that it's safe. Every workplace has to have a skyddsombud, so I've been there, and I have never ever seen any visits from the union. I've never ever experienced or heard of anyone being pushed to join a union. Never ever. And I imagine that it's completely different in different workplaces and what type of industries you work, just as it is with the political affiliation. Because now IF Metall is a member, one of 14 unions, I think, members of LO, which is a huge organization, and they've always historically been affiliated with the Social Democrat Party. Many years ago, if you joined the union, you automatically became a member of the Social Democrat Party, which was absolutely horrible. Today, the opinion is changing because the majority of the members in the unions, they don't vote for the Social Democrats anymore. They're not the big traditional working or labor party they used to be. So today, it's only 4 out of 15 unions. Niklas and I have debated this earlier on X today, that pay money out of the union fees to the Social Democrat Party. And LO are paying maybe, I think it was something like, if they used to pay 10 million, now they pay 2. They do give contribution to the Social Democrat Party at elections and stuff like that. And it's still completely absurd. But there are changes that will determine that the union members will have to vote before the union gives a contribution to a political party. So if the members say no, they won't be able to give any money. And I think that's good. But many unions are not a member of LO. LO is the working heavy labor, sort of, yes. And those unions are not affiliated to political parties and never have been.
Got it. Go ahead.
Yeah. I was going to say, I'm not going to be the cynical one, but I'll be the cynical one. It's usually follow the money. So I guess the unions probably end up holding a lot of money, because I know at some point in time they do pay out benefits, and they can invest that money. They can use it I'm just going to say how it's used in the United States. Union management often are not the straightest shooters, and that corrupts the union. At least in the United States. Maybe it's different in Europe. Maybe it's different in Sweden. But the fact that they have control over this is a legal term, a shitload of money, makes me concerned about their credibility and integrity. That's just me. That's my cynicism.
Yes, it's accurate. It's you can just find 10, 20, 30 different topics about union and LO. They have used their money on separate things. But what I come down to is the main part of this is: 1, Tesla doesn't want to sign agreement. 2, 90% of the employees doesn't want. Just 10%. And that should be more than enough to end this story. But Mimi said something a while ago where company owners are happy about the union and happy about the collective agreement. And that is correct, yes. But many company owners also tells me or tells my friends that the company salaries have kept down because of the unions. Because if there wasn't the union, they needed to raise more salaries, more percentages, because they have several good employees, but because of the union, the average worker is held down. And that is the fact for many, many cases. Perhaps not everyone, but it's the fact for many cases.
But I think that many workplaces, and I don't know how it works with EF Metal, but they would have something. All workplaces that I've worked with, even I worked at the university, which is government owned. You have individual salary. I mean, you decide together with the union, the employer. They decide on a pot of money, and that money you can't go under a certain level. So it's kind of like an internal minimum wage. But I have a negotiation with my boss. And once a year, you have a discussion about the goals for the year. What am I going to do? And then you have a discussion about your salary and how I achieved my goals and what I did. So I can get more money than my colleague who doesn't do such a good job. And that is very, very common.
Yeah.
So it's not like everybody gets the same amount of money. And also, I know a lot of people in Sweden who is working today and are members of the union and who work at companies with a collective agreement, and they have stock options. So it would be possible to keep the stock options.
So this is where I'm very confused. Sorry, Rich, I'll throw it to you in a second. So this is where I'm very confused. If the individual has the power to negotiate a better deal for themselves in Sweden, they're free to do so. Why does the union have to be involved?
Because we have no minimum wage. Because the union, they negotiate the basic. And I think that, I don't know, Niklas, maybe you know more about these huge industries, because I don't know that. I can't imagine that Volvo or whatever, SSAB, and they have individual discussions with every employee when that work on the floor making cars. That they probably have a more set salary.
more groups of people in certain.
Yeah.
So the attempt is to set a floor. So I guess the attempt is to set a floor for everybody.
Yes.
That's what the union is trying to, I guess, convey. Is like if you join us and if your company joins the agreement, then we can guarantee you a floor that you'll never go below this level. We can give you a pension. We can guarantee you a bunch of different things, as long as. And I guess where the employee may find that attractive, or they would want to pressure the company to do that, is because they feel like the company won't be able to offer that themselves. Like somehow they would want the union to take over, because obviously the company is not giving it to them, right? That's the overarching premise behind this, right?
Yeah.
And I think where it's gotten
we
really.
We can take Amazon. I mean, Amazon came to Sweden, and they didn't want to sign a collective agreement either, and they haven't. And I wish they have gone after Amazon. I mean, we're talking about security, and Richard said something about, well, today we don't have unsafe workspaces, but I read about that guy who died at an Amazon warehouse, and he was paid, or they were paid, what, $7,000 in compensation, and they had numerous times told them that it was unsafe. And that is a typical thing for a union to check. So I agree that they are still needed. And they're needed for the people who are not like me, who can't sit and argue with a boss and talk for themselves.
So is it accurate that they're needed because the government is not providing that security for the people? Is that a fair statement? For example, in the United States, we have a minimum wage. It's not enough. It's like $7.45 or something, Richard?
Yeah.
I forget what it is. It's
something
low.
like that. It's
whatever the number
terrible.
is. But we also have typical, welfare type things, and we have other things, not nearly as much as Sweden. Go ahead, Richard.
Yeah, I was going to interject something. So this is along Nicholas's statement. Didn't we just have a strike at Ford, GM, and Stellantis? And the reason they had a strike was because the union, in conjunction with the companies that were losing money, cut their wages previously. They were at a higher wage level, and then they cut them back. That's what this whole strike was about. So the reason why they have to cut back, because those companies are ceasing to be profitable over time. They're not going to be able to afford to pay those wages. So it is in the United States, it's a big issue and a big problem. because Tesla can certainly pay more and can pay more consistently, enough so that the workers are satisfied, at least to this point in time. They seem to be satisfied even in California. Listen, if you get them satisfied in California, that's a win, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But Stellantis and GM employees have voted no, I think. You have
yeah.
They I think they failed to ratify the first vote or something like
Okay.
that.
I assume they'll get there eventually, but it's interesting because the union in this case negotiated them down, not for their personal benefit. Because I'm sure if you had a one-on-one and you could go into your boss, it wouldn't be quite as easy to get you to take a 20% reduction, you know?
Yeah.
No.
I think the thing that was also very eye-opening for me was that because there are so many industries, so many companies that are part of a union, because Tesla did not sign the collective agreement, and because 90% of the workers at the locations kept working when the union called for a strike of some sort, they were able to leverage their other union companies that they're part of their union that were adjacent to Tesla, and they went to the companies that said, okay, if you want to, whatever you're doing working with Tesla, stop it. You know, the whole license plate disaster. Hey, stop giving a license plate to Tesla. Hey, shut down the port and stuff like that. That to me feels very corrupt. Like just as an outsider looking in, like I feel like, why does a union have so much power over one company when they're not getting their way? Can somebody help me understand that a little bit?
One simple answer: money. Because I've talked to one company who is ought to simply strike, and they didn't want to. They doesn't agree with what a union do, what EF Metall does, but they has to because they have a lot of penalty or fines if they don't. So they have no choice.
And I'd like to see under penalty of perjury the UAW say they never contacted the Swedish unions. Now, I'd like to see that they're not operating in concert.
They might.
Who knows?
I don't think so. I think that this is extremely, extremely important for the entire Swedish labor market. And now they've picked Tesla as the symbol. And the longer it goes on, the more a matter of principle it will be. And Elon will never budge, and the union won't either. The chairman today said, for EF Metall said, we can hold out as long as we like. This is not a financial issue, but we can persevere, and we will persevere until our goal is achieved.
But
it's not corrupt, it's completely legal. And actually, I heard something interesting yesterday. I was watching a news program on television, and it turns out, and this was a pro Tesla guy. He said that this was decided 100 years ago, and then it was for some strange reason, still don't understand, the employers that said it was okay. And the employees, the unions, wanted to have something that they would call a proportionate response. And I guess they were more afraid of the employers locking people out from companies or whatever. But so today it's completely legal to have an unproportionate response to a conflict. And that is what they're doing. The unions are just telling other unions that now you will do this, or the other unions agree that we will not clean Tesla places. We will not do repairs. We will not deliver mail.
Under the same umbrella, like LO is the 14 ones.
And the result is Tesla's going to sue them one by one by one.
No, but it's not only LO. It's Seco is not under LO. And today I heard something really. The musical, they are not in LO.
Yes, they are.
The musicians,
yes,
they're under LO.
Yes.
Oh, you learn something every day. Well, there's certain music also played in Tesla cars. I don't know how they worked that out, but it sounded completely ridiculous.
That was, I don't know exactly, but I think that was a thing musicians took for themselves. It's not coming from LO.
Okay. Yeah, because I just read that today.
Their own sympathy. Yeah. I don't think it ever works. I think it was just a
no,
story.
So it is a completely legal response. It's absurd, but it's completely legal, and
Yeah.
Listen,
Go ahead,
It's
Rick.
gonna get worse.
if your country is 11, 12 million people, you can do a lot more than if it's 300 and organizing things. You can do a lot more organizing 10 or 12 million. I don't know what the workforce is. The workforce might be 5 million people. I don't know. I don't really know. But the United States,
5.2.
okay. The United States, the workforce is probably over 100 million people. And, there's it's probably a positive in Sweden that there's a unity. In the United States, obviously, there's disunity. So you can imagine trying to get that many people together. It's almost nearly an impossibility.
So one thing you said, Mimi, was that this is very important for the future of labor in the country. Can you help me understand that a little bit more?
They are afraid that if the union let Tesla go away and not signing the agreement, it will be a starting point for other companies to do the same, and a lot of more multinational companies are coming into Sweden, and everybody, or a huge majority, want them to follow the Swedish model. And so Tesla is now the example that everyone is looking at.
Got it. And so, okay. So then let me try and see. So can we take the other side a little bit more? What are so if this were to happen, let's say Tesla is able to win this, and EF Metal loses its ability to influence, let's say, labor agreements and stuff like that. What are some of the negatives that will come from this? Like what are the negatives here? Like why shouldn't Tesla agree to this? Why should EF Metal be able to do this? Like almost like let's steel man the other side. Let's make it sound into a positive thing. Are the workers really at a natural disadvantage if Tesla does not sign an agreement? Like what is the biggest natural disadvantage they're at here? In the comments too, let me know. Anybody.
There are two sides. First, the company, who doesn't want the agreement because they want to. Tesla, I think you know too, Falsad, they haven't been here in this stage of the company if they have been unionized in every country in the world. Nobody thinks that, because the union is a brake on the pedal. It's like running through syrup. It's more. Tesla is a very new company. Tesla is through Elon. It's fast changing. It's trial and error all the times, and it's quick changes. And if you have in Sweden, we have facilities in Stockholm and in Örebro and in several places. And if one place have two workers gone or sick or just needed, they have more cars or something, they can get to people from next city, from Örebro, from Uppsala or something, and everything of that quick change and adopt quick new ideas. And the union is going to be a part of that, and always have to make their mind or always have to put their words in it. But that is one thing, and I think everybody who have worked in Tesla for some years feels that the fast pace of innovation and fast pace of changes is nothing the union have ever heard about. But the other part is the employee, and the employees need. The employees want two things: salary for now, and some big pension and insurance and safety. And every people working on Tesla and every people working on every company is different. And Tesla as a company attracts certain kind of people. But sometimes the people coming into Tesla is just wrong for either themselves or the company. And if people working at Tesla finds out in about 6 months or 8 months or 1 year that, okay, this was nothing for me, then quit and find a job. Because if you are working at Tesla today, you are a mechanic with electric cars, and you are highly skilled, and you can get every work you're applying to, because there are a great what do you say? Many workers, many companies who seeks for that kind of skills. So so there shouldn't be not satisfied with their working conditions to change to a place where they want to go. But now, as some of you said, they have picked EF Metal picked this one, Tesla, to statue an example, and they picked the wrong competitor because they won't win.
Maybe go.
No, they won't win and they won't lose. I mean, I think that both will lose. So I think that it's also this whole discussion about the whole collective agreement and the Swedish system. It's also based on a thought that is very deep with Swedes, I think, or at least used to be, and that's the solidarity thought, that you have each other's backs, that you protect people. The workers at Tesla, yeah, they're young and they're strong and they can easily get other jobs because they're looking for mechanics anywhere. But I think that it's still the thing for the union to protect the people that are not those kind of people. And I think that working in a company, you can be right or wrong, but if being right means that you should work weekends for free to show that you're dedicated enough, I think that's terrible. I love Tesla. I love Tesla cars, and you all know that, but Tesla earns a lot of money. There's no reason to work for free for Tesla. That's just plain stupid.
Can I ask a
Do
question?
they force people to work for free, though?
No, they don't force people. Niklas told us earlier that people voluntarily work a weekend for free. And I think that's ridiculous. Tesla can afford to pay people. If there's work needed to be done, the employer, whoever it is, should pay people to do that. You shouldn't work for free. I don't see that. That's
why is it wrong
stupid
to work for free? I have a company.
Why should you pay? Why should you work for free for a company that make billions in profit? There is absolutely no reason.
Why is it wrong for one person to choose, I want to work because I think it's fun. I think I have fun with my my colleagues, and I know. I sat down 2-3 days ago with a guy who has run a small, not so small actually, a big company who sells computers, TVs, and such other things. I don't know what it's called in English, but and he has salespeople who come in and work at weekends and work for free because they wanted to. And then they got the bonus and they were happy. But the one who have just 5,000 Swedish kroner, about $500 in bonus that month, was not happy because he got so small bonus. But the managers told him that you got this $500 because the guy besides you worked for free 2 weekends this month.
So he didn't work for free.
Oh, he has no.
No, because he got a bonus.
Yeah, but he didn't have. It's the same in Tesla. You work for free because I don't say every people on Tesla work for free, but it's occasionally there are people working for free.
Yeah, but and I don't see any reason. It's wrong because you are not valuating yourself as a labor force. If you are doing the work for free.
Why should that be
You
the
are not-
responsibility of the entity to decide how much you're worth? Should not be the
Excuse me, I didn't
individual?
understand the decision of the.
So shouldn't it be up? And this is where I think like I saw this comment, and I think this is like very reflective of this conversation. This is not a labor issue. This is a cultural issue, sort of like what we're talking about here a little bit. If and this is like a sliver of the full conversation, but I think it kind of talks to why there's so much solidarity around unions in Sweden. Perhaps is why would it have to? So if I wanted to work for a company for free, let's just assume that's the case. I personally wouldn't, because I now at this stage in my career, I value my time very much, and I know that I can offer something that's unique, right? But let's say, I don't know, I was 20 years old. Like if I go back to my time when I graduated college with $100,000 in debt, and my parents are both immigrants working like crazy. My freaking, we had the recession here, and we're all like, what the hell are we going to do kind of thing. And I'm trying to find a job. And then I said, okay, I'm just going to try to get my foot anywhere because like the economy's terrible. And I'm going to be like, hey, let me just get in for free for like a month. Let me just work with you, and in hopes that, hey, you find value in me and I prove to you that I'm valuable, and then you can hire me. Why is that such a terrible thing?
That's a completely different thing. That's
Why?
a completely different thing. Because
Why?
you don't have a contract. You are not employed by a company that you have a contract that says that you are going to be paid this much, I don't know, per hour or per month or whatever. You are going in there to show them, please hire me because I'm good, and you're going to prove that you're good. But I think in Sweden, you couldn't even do that because you can't go into a company. Well, maybe a small private company, you could do that. But you couldn't work for free because then you wouldn't be covered by insurances or anything. And if something happened, who would pay that? That would be terrible. But I think it's completely different if you work for a company that is making billions and you are working for free. Why should you do that? I don't understand that. I don't understand that. It's putting others. I might be a mechanic who has 3 kids and a wife who works, and I too 40 hours a week, and I'm not able to work for free on weekends because I have other responsibilities. And then you have a guy who is 25 and he lives alone or with his parents or whatever, and he has all the time and he doesn't need as much money, and he goes in and work for free. And he is seen as more valuable for the employer. Oh, great. There we have Benny. He works for free. He's a great guy. We will remember that. But they have completely different life situations.
How common is this situation? Sorry. So how common is this situation
No,
of
I've
somebody
never
working
heard
for
of
free?
people going in to work for free. I've never heard of it.
Then forget this. Forget this then. Forget this topic.
Only
this
at
specific
Tesla.
topic.
I don't know. Do you have employers that work for free, Nicholas?
I work for free plenty.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
I do, no,
Richard.
absolutely.
Telling jokes.
Listen, if you're a professional, you don't get paid. You don't get paid for the time you work. If you go work
That's
7 days a week, 24 hours a day, you're not
No.
getting extra money. You're exempt. So there are employees that are exempt.
Because when I have a monthly salary, I mean, I don't clock my hours, but I guess at Tesla you would clock your hours.
If you're hourly.
Because I think so. Yes. Niklas, do you know?
Yeah. If you're hourly.
Niklas, are you there?
Yes, it depends.
Do it depends. But a mechanic, you would clock his hours?
I think it depends, but I don't sure actually.
No.
I'm gonna guess probably anything that's like what we call blue collar type work in the United States, where it's like direct, sort of you're touching material.
Yeah.
It's probably hourly, and if you're like sort of more back office engineering, it's probably
Yes.
salary. Go ahead,
Yes.
Richard.
Yeah, I was
see you
going to
come-
say is I'm guessing. So I'm guessing the unemployment rate is probably pretty low. Is that a fair guess or no?
About
No.
8%, I
Yeah.
think.
Okay. All right. That's higher than I would expect.
Yeah.
How about in terms of time off? Do the unions provide you like some amount of time, or is it a statutory thing in Sweden where people who are citizens get to take, because in some other countries that's how it's done. Everybody gets to take, 8 weeks or whatever. I'm making up times. Is it something like that in Sweden also?
5 weeks
Yeah,
or
5
regular
weeks is
vacation.
Paid by the employer?
Yeah.
Yeah. You even get extra money during your vacation, which I think is a fantastic thing, because you have something called vacation. I don't know, a certain
Vacation
percent
salary,
every
yeah.
month. Yes.
Yeah.
So yes, you do. Yeah. And then, but then, like I said in the beginning, if you have a collective agreement, and I didn't know this before, you have extra hours. It's about 40 hours for EF Metall that that is free time that you use for other days. Like maybe if Christmas Eve is on a Tuesday and you get the Monday off because it's a
That's
day
40
between.
per year, so it's like an extra week.
Yeah.
It's a week,
Yeah.
in essence, in a week.
Yeah, yeah. And then if you work longer, like when I worked, I always got extra vacation days when I turned 40, and like for certain days. So when I worked for I had 7 weeks of vacation.
You're already 40?
I would have thought she was like in her mid 30s or early 30s.
Oh my
Wow.
God, I'm not going to tell you.
28.
I'm going to have a big birthday in January.
Wait, your birthday's January?
Big
So is
birthday
mine.
is January.
January 19th. Yeah.
Oh, 22.
I'm December.
Ooh.
I'm December 29. Just while we're at
Me
it.
too, January.
You are? December 29th? That's almost
What's
New
yours,
Year's Eve.
Nicholas?
January 28th.
This
You
is
were also in
crazy.
January? My God, so we're all in 2 months.
Like
December
we're all
to
born within
January.
30 days.
Yeah.
This is awesome. We should do like a birthday stream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I think is really fascinating, because again, I have been playing the devil's advocate. What I think I read today is that 7 out of 10 in Sweden sympathize with the strike, with the union. So
Okay.
about 70% of the Swedish population.
Yeah, but are they willing to lose the jobs and the that side of it?
You can't ask people a question
No.
without giving them all information. So I just give that 0 base points.
But Richard, who do you mean? Who will lose the job?
No, I mean,
What do you mean?
ultimately, if Tesla pulled out of Sweden so that the job opportunities are gone, would that be a good solution for the unions? Is that something they would accept? Or
yes, they would accept that. Yeah, they don't care about that. Oh no. This is a principle. It's not about jobs.
They want to police their own power and protect it.
They want to keep the system. They want to keep the Swedish model.
So then you say it's not about the employees, anything. It's about the Swedish model.
It's about all the employees. Yeah, it's about all the employees.
I can take an example. For about, I think it was 1.5 weeks ago, I think not Friday, but last Friday, one company in southern Sweden, Hydro Extrusions, was taken out in sympathy strike, and that was because they make a aluminium part to Tesla Giga Berlin, and they have about 600 workers, and 50 of them was working with this aluminium.
20.
Okay, I saw between 40 and 50, and the owner said that this is too bad because I think he doesn't said it out loudly, but he said that Tesla probably going to fix this part from other things, other sources, and the 50 or 20 or whatever workers were probably going out of work because they doesn't get Tesla as a customer anymore. So that is a strike or a sympathy strike who gets the biggest impact on the members of EF Metall and the members of LO and everything, and hurting Sweden, but not Tesla, because Tesla fixed things. Tesla is always have always a solution an hour before anything happens.
Has anybody ever litigated this in Sweden besides Elon? Has it this kind of like lawsuit that we saw today?
I have never seen anything like this. I mean, the last time, this doesn't happen very often. I mean, hardly ever a big thing like this. The last time was I don't know, was it 8-10 years ago when Toys R Us,
It was 20, I think.
the big chain, came to Sweden and they refused to sign. But Toys R Us, they had some pretty bad, like they locked all the windows. You couldn't open the windows on the second floor because they were afraid that people would throw out toys and steal from them. And they called up people on the speaker system, and everybody knew that if they called your name, that meant that you would be fired. But they had a lot of sympathy measures, but never the mail. I've never heard about the mail before. I was really surprised because mail feels like something holy almost. It's
Because
like a
back
base
then,
for society.
when this Toys R Us, it was Posten, and that was 100% government. But today it's 40% Sweden, 40% Denmark, and 20% something else. So
Yeah, because you in the mail you don't know what you're not delivering, right? it's packaged, so you may not see. Maybe it's 5 pounds of $20 bills.
Yeah. And today we have several different, I mean, if you're talking about packages, you can use all kinds of services. But it still feels like mail should be delivered. I mean, you think of the old Pony Express and people fighting and giving their lives for getting the mail there. So I think that's pretty weird. But no, I don't see, that's the sad part. I don't see a solution. And I think that it doesn't help if Tesla signs here or not. They're going to have, in Germany, it's stirring crazy. I mean, they have some departments in Giga Berlin. They have from 30 to 50% sick leave. And so I think that, and they got 1,000 new members, the union, just last week.
Yeah, Germany. So, I'm sure if they had to think it all over again, I'm sure they would reflect upon how the union would impact. But again, the difference between Germany and Sweden is there's a factory there and he's kind of stuck. What are they going to do? Abandon the factory and move on?
Or they should look at why 30% of the workforce in one department is on sick leave.
Maybe they're sick.
Maybe they are sick. Maybe they have the flu.
Go ahead.
So, but I think one thing that you said earlier, Niklas, about Tesla being a company that's moving fast and taking fast decisions and innovation and everything. And I don't see that the collective agreement would be hindering that. I mean, we have plenty of companies in Sweden that have contributed with great innovations and great technology and are changing fast. So in spite of unions. So it's only about treating people decently and giving them a fair salary and a fair working conditions. And I mean, really, Tesla is doing about everything that's in the collective agreement. I read that there's a Swedish billionaire and a CEO for a company called Getinge. They're in biotech, medtech company, and they work in over 100 different countries. And I think he's a pretty old man now, but he had a piece of advice to Elon. And he said, we just adapt the culture of the countries we go to. We're over 100 countries. And the collective agreement has been good for Sweden, and it's been good for our company. And he should just sign. And they do whatever is needed in different countries. And the company is full of innovations, and they're doing for medtech what Tesla is doing for EVs, and it's working fine in spite of a collective agreement.
Yeah, I think that's where this is going to be, like you guys are saying, it's going to be probably an issue that is not going to get resolved because neither side's going to budge. I think from Tesla's perspective, and I think the way Elon thinks about innovation, he probably sees that and says, it might work, but it's not the fastest path to this. And thus, it's not going to be something that we're going to sign up to, because it's going to, even if it, let's say, makes it more fair to a collective and it fits more within the culture of the Swedish population, which is more about, it sounds like it's more about the collective than the individual. That's what the vibes I'm getting. And then Elon's going to be like, yeah, you're not going to allow, but then that means that automatically going to reduce the chance of the outliers to come through, which is what we're looking for. We're looking for those people that don't, let's say, are not just going to be or happy with the collective. They want to do more. It's almost like that American sort of thought process of individual first. We're always going to take it upon ourselves to be as great as the individual can be. Not to say that there's anything wrong with the collective, but I think that's that mentality. And so it almost seems like the conversation has sort of, the way I'm thinking about it is, it's culture. It's 100% culture. It's 100% culture. And I think you guys were saying this. It's less about labor and giving the people a fair compensation. It's about the Swedish model, like you guys said, the Swedish model. It's about the Swedish model. It's about being Swedish. You're in Sweden. We're proud of the way we're doing it. And this is how we do it. And Elon's like, but that's not the fastest way to get an Optimus out. That's not the fastest way to get a full self-driving out. It's not the fastest way to repair people's cars or to manufacture cars or to ship cars. And so I don't see this resolving.
And I was going to say the timing has changed, right? He said FSD 2 weeks ago, and he delivered in 2 weeks. He said he was going to sue Media Matters, and he sued Media Matters. He said he was going to go after Sweden. He did. So I think
the new Elon time.
Yeah, so maybe it's now
That's scary.
Maybe now, we heard about their really aggressive legal team 2 years ago. Last year, maybe not so aggressive, but maybe this year it's going to be battle after battle, and that's how they're going to deal with it. And they think that's going to impose the most cost on the other side, and that will be the most influential.
Yeah, I just have to say that I don't see that one thing makes the other one impossible. I don't see that letting people bloom and do their best and do fantastic things is impossible because you have an agreement with the union.
I think it's fun. I think there's a and you and I have had the discussion before. I think there's a fundamental cap that a union environment can put in place for individuals that really want to break the norms to achieve outsized success. I just think, and the way I think about it is I think humans, it's more like philosophical in a way. I think humans trend towards comfort and happiness, and they try to avoid pain and brutality because it sucks. But the truth is if you really want to build something that is incredible, there's going to be a lot of pain and brutality involved. And when I say brutality, I don't mean like unfairness and like making people like have to do something they don't want to do. I just think like the certain environment has to exist for people to feel like they can take that on.
I was going to say, no matter who thinks it's a good idea, and I don't disagree, it might be a great idea, but if big boss man doesn't like it, then it doesn't really make a difference. In this case, Elon doesn't like it, and he's not going to change his. Just kind of historically speaking, he's going to do what he wants to do. He's not going to be influenced by pressure like that. In fact, he's probably influenced the opposite way by the pressure. It's more likely to encourage him to act that way. And,
absolutely.
He loves it. All right, let's do a few more minutes for questions about let's take it to an hour 30. Does that work with you guys? Do about 10-15 minutes of questions. Cool. All right, so drop your question in questions. All right, drop your question in the comment section below. Write question before your question, so it's easy for me to bring up. And then we'll do a few questions before we wrap this sucker up. I want to bring up a couple comments that I think it's interesting. So from Fabi, congrats to the Swedes for defending their work culture. Seems like Mimi is the only one understanding self-respect. And I think we were talking about, not wanting to work for free. Like you have to really understand yourself, like what you're worth, what's interesting. And then on the other side, from Henrik Jensel, I'm sorry if I pronounced your name incorrectly. I'm a member of a union, but start to question it more and more. In a democratic country, the union should act democratic, do what the majority of workers want, not tell the workers what they want. So that's kind of like two different sides of the coin there in the comments. There's a question here. Why does Tesla need to stay in Sweden for real? That was one of the things I actually on X when this whole thing was going down, from my understanding. I mean, with the way, I'm American, the way I think about it is if my business is being impacted because the opposite of what my workers want, and I sort of I'm like surrounded by these forces that are not letting me operate properly. I'm on the side of maybe you just need to pull out of the country if it doesn't fit the way you want to operate. But go ahead, Mimi. I see your hand going up.
Yeah, I've read that quite a few people think that that might be the solution, that Tesla pulls out of Sweden and that other companies will do the service that Tesla does today, kind of with a Tesla license.
They have already, I think it was 1 or 2 weeks ago, they have applied for more jobs. So they are already now.
Yeah, I hope they won't leave.
I already now start up car repair shops, and trackers. So they applying for more jobs. So they are doing the opposite. And
they wrote to the car owners that they had no plans of leaving.
Yes.
So, but I don't know. It's going to be interesting because it's going to be.
I think Susanna G. Johnson, the chief of LO, CEO, she says that we have money to run this for 500 years. So big cash they have. Now we know. I think we can agree on that 500 years this wasn't gonna take, but. I think if I counted right,
we're on Mars.
Yeah, if I counted right, Tesla cash and Elon Musk's cash. It's wrong to do that. But if we should count numbers, I think that was about 250 times more money. So if we have to count years or count money, I think LO has not a big advantages for this one.
I was going to say the risk I see is unions in other countries honoring these pickets and expanding the work stoppages or slowdowns to other countries that have similar mindsets as Sweden. And we won't know that until
of employees.
It's not legal in other countries to do an unproportional response to a conflict. So I don't think it would be possible.
You're muted.
You can do anything you want. It's just subject to legal restraint.
Yes. In France, they would probably do it anyways. They strike for everything. So but they don't have that much Tesla thing. No, I think it's a problem because I mean Tesla is the best-selling car in Sweden, and it's a huge problem. I mean now you can't get a paint job. It's going that is outside of Tesla. They have now 112 different locations that do paint jobs. They're not allowed to work on Teslas. And they will come up with more.
They have already some few car shops that are doing this, but the cars who were in the car some time ago, they are stuck there because they are standing still, so they doesn't move.
I heard that Tesla's coming out with the new SPC. You guys didn't hear about that? The self-painting cars?
No. Some of the other ones were better.
With a car without paint, that's even better.
Thursday. Let me bring up a couple more comments here.
Did you order a Cybertruck, Niklas?
What's that?
Did you order a Cybertruck?
Whoa. Big man, I like it. Ray, what does Tesla do in Sweden? My understanding, and then Niklas and Mimi, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it's limited to just service and shipments that they receive and sell. It's just sales and service, right? I believe that's it.
Yep. And infrastructure for charging, which is also affected. Okay. It's not being repaired now.
Talking about hiding the lead, is Nicholas getting 2 of the first Cybertrucks on Thursday? Is that what's happening?
Are you in Austin right now?
He's not getting any because they don't ship them to Sweden. They're not legal here.
Yeah, by the time this whole thing's done. My God. That's the whole plan.
To drive them here.
Let's see. So let me bring up this question. This might be a dangerous one. Can the two Swedes explain to Farsi the meaning of the word lagom?
Lagom.
Lagom? What is that?
Supposedly only exists in Swedish. Lagom is not too much and not too little.
That's
just right.
That's
lagom.
It's the union?
Union is lagom.
Okay. Not too much, not too little.
No,
okay.
It's below average. It's
How much food do you want? Lagom. How much coffee do you want? Lagom. Not too much, not too little. And lagom is
Okay.
different for everyone.
Got it. Okay. So so it's like average, but like everybody has like a different average. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. I think a more important word is fika. In Sweden, we have a mandated fika when you work. That every
What is that?
like between
Coffee-
10 and 10,
coffee and
15
cake.
and coffee and cake or tea and cake.
Oh,
You go out in the staff room and you have a cup of coffee and a cake and you talk with your colleagues.
fika?
Fika is very important in Sweden.
Fika. Okay.
You go for a fika.
Is this for
Yeah,
2
no.
hours or 15 minutes?
15 minutes.
Okay. So it's like tea. It's like tea in British, like sort of like when they would you like to have some tea?
Afternoon
And
tea
then-
is like kind of
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it could be a
Okay.
Coke. It could be a Coke. It could be a glass of water, but it's
Could be
fika.
anything.
It's like my
It's
it's like my regular whiskey morning break, right?
Yeah, it could be whiskey.
There you go. We were just talking about this one. Thank you for the super chat. Can this move on to IG Metall and Germany? That was some of the discussions we were having. That depending on the outcome of this conflict, let's say it might sort of empower other unions around the globe to really go after Tesla. Because I think what the most interesting about this, and it really speaks to just how much more influential Tesla is becoming. You know, like just think about all the different countries that has entered. You got the leader of the company meeting with freaking every world leader, it seems, lately. It's becoming a magnet for attention. It's becoming a magnet for money. It's becoming a magnet for power. It's becoming a magnet for influence. So I think, I think it's a very interesting point that depending on the outcomes from this thing, is that going to have a cascading effect on everything else? And is this really like a red line? This might be like, you guys were talking about this. It's a red line moment that says if this line is passed, then let's say the union wins in Sweden. Does that then mean that Tesla is going to have to give in to basically every other country's forces? So I don't know. Did you guys have any other thoughts about this that you wanted to add?
It could be,
But it doesn't. I don't see why they would have to give in to American unions just because they would sign
I'm just saying
an agreement
if.
in Sweden.
I'm saying because, it's a union.
Yeah, they will certainly make that claim. You've given in to a union, so why wouldn't you honor the American unions?
That's
Yes.
why. That's
Yes,
why.
but
it
why
never
would
happened
they
in
just
Sweden.
because someone says that?
Yeah, but that's how unions that they use evidence to support their case. In this case, Elon is anti-union. If he agrees to the terms of the union, then why wouldn't he agree to the UAW's demands? Or at least why
But
would they
if
at least try?
But if a majority of the workers at Fremont wanted to unionize, should they be allowed?
They can.
Yeah, if they want to. They just have to vote yes.
Yeah, they decided not to this point.
Yeah.
Why do you roll your eyes?
I think that I think that some of the people probably would like to, but I think that it would not go down very well. And I mean, there have been reports of Tesla pressing down people who like to start a union.
But on the flip side, their job is probably much more likely to be existing in 20 years than a GM job or another car manufacturer.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
That's got to play into the into the equation too.
Yeah, and I do not want them to unionize in the States. I just want to make that clear. I don't like oh my God, but just I see that chairman, he's terrible.
Sean Fain. Shout out Sean Fain. Hope you're watching, bro.
I mean, every time he says that thing about Elon just saving up money to fly a rocket, which has absolutely nothing to do with Tesla and unions or whatever, it's just so stupid.
Yeah, the interesting thing about the union, I mean, the way I understand the union culture in the United States is it's very different from the one in Sweden. And Richard, correct me if I'm wrong here. I mean, the unions here weren't necessarily born out of like having unity with the collective and the country. It was much more about protecting corporations from abusing the worker, because in certain areas of the country, that was the only job you could get, really. And so the worker could do anything. The workplace could be absolutely terrible. And the unions were like, dude, just because you're the one with power here doesn't mean that we're the ones that have to suffer. And that's why they unionized.
Yeah,
so
I think
Yeah.
Yeah, I think most people would say health and safety is a really good reason to have unions.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Yeah, if a company is not doing a good job at meeting your basic requirements as a human being, I'm 1,000% for unions. I think the question becomes, does it go too far when the business is already doing that for you and the union is like, well, maybe you should get a little bit more of this so that we can get a little bit of money, right? That's where it becomes, that's where I'm like, ugh. And that's, to me, that's what the UAW feels like.
Yeah, the people that
States.
built soccer stadiums in Qatar for the World Cup, those guys needed a union.
Yes.
Those
100%.
guys needed a
Absolutely.
union.
Absolutely. That was terrible.
All right, let's do one more, and then we'll leave it here because I think this one's a very interesting question. What is the Swedish panel's view of Optimus replacing all workers? Because I think this is a very interesting point here. So for those that are not familiar, Tesla's working on a humanoid robot that is going to be able to do labor. Basically, it's going to be able to move its hands and stuff. This is going to be by probably 5-10 years from now. But how is the Swedish people thinking about automation and robotics and software as it pertains to that sort of union culture and thinking about the collective versus let's say the individual that's being impacted in this place? How do you guys think about that?
We're pretty good in Sweden on tech, I think. So I think Sweden is perhaps a very good country for this, and if we have a factory for perhaps bots, Optimus, and we have 10,000 Optimus who's working there, we could perhaps have 100 or 200 human workers there. It's perhaps a situation that could be in 8 to 10 years.
Mimi?
I think that the Optimus won't be a problem in most rich countries, because we have, at least not in Sweden, because we have a welfare system that will hopefully take care of the people. I mean, the problem is if it goes really fast, and it might go really fast, all those workers that are going to be replaced, they're very likely to be in countries where they won't have a safety net, and many people will be out of a job. And I think that politicians everywhere, in Sweden too, and United States, we have to start talking, like Elon has said many times, about universal basic income, because a lot of people are not going to have jobs. There will not
Richard?
be new jobs.
Yeah, I think there will be plenty of new jobs, just like there was in the Industrial Revolution, just that they're jobs that we don't know yet. They will come out of they'll come out of innovation, and like it has in the past. And it'll be difficult for the people that lose their jobs and have to be trained in new jobs. But the most important thing I think that's out there, and I think the most important things that unions could do would be to train people in new avocations, new jobs, new skill sets. That I really think
that's what you're
unions could
guaranteed
do.
if you have a collective agreement. That's what you're guaranteed.
Well, listen, if that was part of, maybe if that's part of the deal where they train them to be AI specialists and operate all those kind of new technologies, operate on rockets, etc., maybe there would be more give and take too.
Yeah.
But the government could do that as well, right? It doesn't have to be a union thing. Government can step in and create that safety net. You know,
the
from
interesting
automation.
thing is, how are you going to get tax money if you don't have workers? The companies will have to pay a lot more tax?
No, you could have
For
sales.
the work
Listen,
that the Optimus is doing.
In Europe, isn't there a VAT almost everywhere? There's plenty of consumption taxes. There'd be sales taxes. There's plenty of ways of picking it up, I think.
Well, we already pay 25% sales tax, so I think that's plenty.
Whoa, 25%. Do you have income tax too?
Yes.
What?
Income tax?
Yeah. 30, 35 and up.
Wow,
You're over
30.
60%. You're over 60% going in.
32.
It's very common to say 55%. It's very common to say that number if you count everything in.
Most people pay 32 or 33% taxes
of your income.
That's the local tax. You have to earn quite a bit of money to pay government federal taxes. Most people don't do that.
Are any of your staples subsidized by the government? Like milk, bread, that kind of stuff?
No. But
Okay.
education is free. University, healthcare, practically, and it's
And
subsidized childcare and
roads and
people's
everything,
homes.
infrastructure,
yeah,
water, sewer.
Yeah.
Okay. Electricity?
No,
It's pretty low.
electricity is expensive.
Really?
Sweden is low because we have many exporting kilowatts to rest of the world and the rest of Europe. But we have Norway and Sweden have the cheapest
Oil too,
electricity. No, not
Well, it
oil.
depends.
Norway have oil, but Sweden have the cheapest
Got 'em
electricity
confused.
in Europe.
But
Okay.
the last few years after the Ukraine war and the gas from Russia and everything, I mean, since we share the grid with Europe, the electricity has been a lot more expensive than it used to be. Today
Okay.
it's very expensive. So today I have a fire in my stove and candles. So I
Wow.
will turn down my heaters,
Okay.
my radiators.
So it's 35%. So is that, again, just before we leave, so the 30 to 35%, that income tax, that's local tax, and that's the minimum tax, or that's the average tax?
That's the minimum.
No, that's what most
about.
people pay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then
then-
you have all the taxes on goods and services. So if you add that up, you average people who pays about 55% of their salary in all taxes.
Got it. So income tax at 30-ish, and then 25% at point of sale on top of that.
Yes.
Okay.
Then you have deductions too for like interest on your mortgage. And,
We have that
and
here.
now we also have a deduction for workers. So everybody who works get a deduction or
Okay.
2 or 3. So
Is there a
yeah,
minimum?
we pay a lot of taxes, and I'm happy to do it
Yeah.
because
Is there a
I've seen
minimal-
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Is there a minimal number of with the poverty? I mean, are there a lot of people impoverished or not? Is there like a minimum standard that people live by and they can have a reasonable life? Or is that a struggle for a lot of people in Sweden?
It is a struggle.
There is an existential minimum, but I don't know exactly what that amount is actually.
If you're under that, you get help from social services.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But that doesn't mean that there are still people struggling.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. We'll leave it there. Thank you all so much, Niklas, Mimi, Richard. What an awesome discussion. My goodness. It was so fun.
Thank you.
Really appreciate you guys for joining us. Thank you to everybody in the comment section for your awesome questions and comments. The mods, especially, for keeping the conversation super civil. A lot of great stuff in there. Richard, you gave some excellent legal advice today. Where can people find some more excellent legal advice?
Not legal advice with a K. And I think I'm doing a video on Tesla autopilot and the most recent decision that was misrepresented by the newspapers.
Okay.
Good.
That's going to be
Will
interesting.
it be live stream? No.
He's going to put in some editing work. I love it. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. We'll see you on the next one. Thank you again. I think it's pretty late over there now. Is it like 10 o'clock at night? Something like that in Sweden?
Yeah.
10 o'clock, 10:30?
Yeah.
So
It's
thank you all
snowing.
so much.
Yeah, I wanted to thank
It's
you
out
both.
in the snow.
I wanted to thank you both for all the info because I knew diddly squat. And I thank Farzad for always giving the platform to everybody, and I appreciate that too.
Of course,
Yes.
man. No, I appreciate that. And yeah, I mean, this is for my learning because I was reading a bunch of stuff online. You know, I try my best to get the full picture online, but sometimes it's very difficult. And I'm like, okay, this thing's going down. It's going to make some pretty cool, I think, content on YouTube. Nobody else is doing it. Plus, I know a very awesome Swedish person in Mimi. Might as well bring her on. And then I saw
Who
Niklas
got
post some
very
stuff.
tired of answering all Farsad's questions in writing. So I said it would be so much easier to talk about it. And
Yeah,
then I
I was
thought
on.
it was so great that Niklas wanted to come on too. That's really good.
Yeah.
You have follow Niklas on X because he spread some excellent news about EV and electricity in Sweden, and I learned a lot from him.
I can
Where can
say,
people find you?
Niklas
Let me find you.
Nilsson, 14. But I have to say I was very close to get one person with me today, and that was a Tesla employee. But
Oh.
if it's gonna be another time, I think I can arrange that.
Okay.
That would be great.
So,
That'd be great. Yeah, if this thing continues, I would love to do a follow-up because I think the overall the implications from this again are very far-reaching, and it's just interesting, not just watching it as a labor dispute, but also as a culture dispute in some sorts.
Yeah.
And I think it's
We
just
should
a
try to get
fascinating
someone
thing.
from the union too. I wrote to.
That'd be great.
I just found a bunch of email addresses, but that was on Saturday and it's Monday today. So
And it might be interesting
was a
to delve into the German unions too, because I think that's going to be down the road at some
Yeah.
point in time. So those
I
issues.
think so too.
this in Sweden isn't solved to Christmas.
No, no,
Yeah.
no, no.
Well, Merry Christmas, VF Metal. I hope you have a fantastic one. All right, everybody. Take care.
Bye-bye.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Take care.
everybody.
Bye bye.